welcome to another video of mine, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a long time since I uploaded a video. That's just primarily because life. But in this video, getting back into the swing of things, I want to talk about Kreese and Silver, and I want to talk about the emotional payoff of this fight that is about to happen. Now, I've said many times since Chosen was brought back into the fold that I think the definitive fight will always be Silver and Chosen. I think that will always be the one that we glom onto when this show is said and done as the ultimate duel, as the ultimate fight. But I think this potential fight between Kreese and Silver that I would really love to happen, and I think we all would, and I think was set up way back in Season 4, has so much emotional gravity behind it that I think not doing it would be a huge missed opportunity. Now, I'm talking the emotion of this fight could be on the levels of Captain America and Bucky in Winter Soldier. I'm talking that kind of level, where we now not just have their brotherhood and friendship in Karate Kid 3, but thanks to Cobra Kai, we have all that added information that we didn't have before, that recontextualizing of their history, and how close they actually were, and what Kreese did for Silver, and what Silver in turn did for Kreese, you know, just throughout the history, and all the little moments where you see the older Kreese gets, and the more of a villain he becomes, the less he gives, like, a hoot about Silver. But then in the flashback days, he cares more. Like, it's that weird transition, and that journey that these characters go on from start to finish, that I think is going to culminate in a fight. And I think this was even set up in Season 3, when Kreese was fighting as Captain. It's Silver, by definition, is a rank lower than Kreese. So it's, again, that thing coming full circle, where Kreese has pretty essentially become the very thing he swore to destroy, if you know, you know, when he was fighting Captain Turner on the bridge over the snake pit. Silver is now going to be doing in turn the same thing. And I'm fascinated to see how they'll pull this off, because it is no secret that when it comes to the fight scenes, you know, Martin Kove, you know, he's only human, so naturally it's just harder for him to do the stunts and do the physical work. Whereas with Thomas Ian Griffith, he has still got more fuel in the tank. He can still go. He can still do a good chunk of his fight scenes. And I'm pretty sure he's done most, if not all of them. Comment down below if that's not the case. But I feel like with the flashback fight that Kreese had while he was in prison, where he embraced his, you know, his roots and his inner self, while there's symbolism there, I think that's also a setup. There will be moments in the fight where Kreese and Silver will be fighting each other, and no doubt there will be quick cuts back and forth of the young flashback actors fighting each other. I think you'll see moments like that where maybe it has 1 minute it's old Kreese and old Silver, then it's young Kreese and young Silver, maybe young Kreese and old Silver, maybe old Kreese and young Silver. Like, it will switch back and forth. Now, since by this point of when this fight happens, I could see us being out of the Sekai Taikai, and after all of that, I could see this taking place right after. And I think this is going to be a moment where the show will change forever. Now, I've talked at great length how I do not want the show to go on for 8 odd seasons, because the show will become a shadow of its former self, and it won't be as we remember it. Oh, it will get bigger. Doesn't mean better. And you see it all the time with every other show and every other movie that overstays their welcome and they don't know when to end it. I've talked about that a lot. But if the show is to continue past Season 6, I think there needs to be a moment where the show's dynamic changes. And I talked a lot about how I didn't want Chosen to die, and the simple reason for that is it didn't make sense. It would have wasted his redemption story. And I've talked a lot about redemption stories and how I do not like how redemption characters are just killed off. I hate it. I don't like it. And it would have been premature. You know, it would have been a point of like, okay, the show is officially gone there. Because once you cross that line, you cannot uncross it. And I think if there is a death to happen in the show, it's Kreese or Silver. I think one of them has to go. Or both of them. You know, I think they're so caught up in the past, and they're both soldiers. I could see them both getting a soldier's death. And I think the only way to take them both off the board is to have them both kill each other. Like, quite literally. Sounds cliche, but it goes all the way back to those old school, you know, samurai fights, where you have the two warriors facing off against each other in the distance, and then they charge at each other, and they both land a hit at the same time, and they both go down. Like, I could see that being the case. Maybe Johnny's in peril, Maybe Kreese then steps in again and actually saves him this time and brings it full circle to the first Karate Kid movie where, you know, in the parking lot he was strangling the ever-loving daylights out of him. So, with that being said, I could see a world where one of these two characters ends up dying. Now, whether that's season 6 or 7, time will tell, because we don't know how they're going to split the story arcs with the Sekai Taikai. That will be the predominant focus, and you don't want to just do a Halloween Ends and just ham-fist Kreese and Silver in at the end there. But I think you could have it play off in the background as an undertone, and then it just comes to a crescendo, a bit like Robbie's dark side turn in season 3. You could play it like that, where Silver's operating in the shadows, and then it comes to a head in the finale. But I think, you know, Kreese and Silver riding off into the sunset, you know, having a happy ending, I don't see that now. Silver was at the point of no return when he wanted to literally kill someone on screen. Properly. Not talking in a flashback, I'm talking present day, almost killing another legacy character off. And then we've got Kreese, who, despite everything, is still caught up in the past. He's still not left the 1980s. He's still there, and he's shown no signs of letting up. And with him breaking out of jail, it's pretty much... To me, it pretty much confirms that, yeah, he's heading one way, you know? And the show has done a great job at passing the torch to the new generation, that being Miguel, Hawk, Robbie, Sam, the proteges, Kenny and Devon. Like, it's done a great job at passing the torch, that I think we have a breadth of characters that it might be time to maybe trim down the cast a little bit. And I think we're going to reach a point in Season 6 where maybe, just maybe, we lose a legacy character. And I think it's going to be one of these two. I think these two are going to come to blows, and I think it's going to get really bloody and really nasty. And especially when you consider the types of characters they are, they're both soldiers. You know, it's a case of they're not just karate people. They are soldiers, literal war veterans. And war veterans, you know, as we've seen and showcased throughout the show, the amount of PTSD that they've had to deal with, I can see it culminating this in literally just a bloody battle. And the one thing I can compare it to, for anyone who has seen the Clone Wars show, there's a character in there called Fives. And when Fives dies, he simply says the nightmare is over as he dies. Maybe even in Saving Private Ryan, when one of the soldiers dies, he's like, you know, he says he's at peace. You know, there's that kind of thing to it where you give the soldier a warrior's death, but also you give them an exit. It's like they're being given permission to leave. They're too brave and strong-willed and determined to take their own life. But as we saw with Silver when he was fighting Chosen, he was meant to die on the battlefield. His words. So I think that's a setup, and I think we're at a point now where, like I've said before, Cobra Kai reminds me of Harry Potter. Each season matures as you go along, and it progressively gets a little bit darker. And I do feel like we are gearing up for a legacy character death. I know even I didn't want this to happen, but I did say if there was any legacy characters to be killed off, Silver or Kreese, no one else. Like, it can only be those two. It can't be Johnny, because that completely undoes the whole show. It can't be Daniel, because that disrespects the legacy. It can't be Chosen, because that's just a waste. Like, you know, and I've talked a lot about that. But with Silver and Kreese, I feel like it's likely one, if not both of these two will go. I don't see them getting a happy ending. I don't see them riding off into the sunset. And I don't see them sitting in the slammer and living out their days in a jail cell, because we've literally just seen how that went for Kreese. So it's probably not going to happen. But guys and girls, it's good to get back to some videos. I know it's been a while since I've done them. I've just been so caught up with everything with the Christmas season and everything else. But back on the grind now. We're going forward to 8K. Make sure if you are new here, you hit that subscription button. You give this video a thumbs up. You jump in the comment section down below. Let me know if you agree with any of the points that I've raised. And welcome to the Chosen Vader Karate Familia, people. I will see you all in another video soon.